Our position is the same position that we've had in September, the position that we've held throughout the 30-day Trump Republican shutdown in October, and it's going to be the same position that we have in November.
Yesterday you said that the whip team would meet to discuss congressional pay among the caucus. I think you said a week or so ago that the caucus also was going to discuss the topic. Where have you guys come down on this? I think tomorrow is the day that the checks go out, right?
Checks go out. Checks would ordinarily go out for members of Congress on November 1st. And it's an individual decision that everyone is going to have to make in terms of their own circumstances. And, you know, individual members will make those decisions and then communicate with their constituents, as I plan to do when I'm back home in Brooklyn.
So you'll make that decision on November 1st. You'll make it clear what you're doing?
On or before November 1st, I'll make it clear to my constituents back home in Brooklyn what I plan to do. Thanks.
So the Trump administration, they announced some deliverables from his meeting with President Xi, including, you know, a resumption of large purchases of USD soybeans from China, crackdown on fentanyl shipments from China. The Trump administration said that they would reduce some tariffs in exchange. You've been critical of the president being in Asia during the final days of the month leading up to the snap cliff and the ACA open enrollment. Have you had a chance to look at the agreement, and do you think that the deliverables that the Trump administration said that they were able to get from China justify or was worth the president being out of the country in these final days of, you know, SNAP benefits about to expire, the ACA open enrollment starting without a resolution? How are you squaring those deliverables, that agreement, with the fact that the president was gone for these critical days?
It appears to most reasonable observers that Donald Trump was punked on the world stage by the Chinese Communist Party. The notion that Donald Trump has created all of this trouble for the American people, which he has. The Trump tariffs are raising costs on everyday Americans by thousands of dollars per year. And earlier today, I also met with some small business owners and entrepreneurs who made clear to me in very real terms that the Trump tariffs are going to force many of them to shutter their businesses and abandon their dreams. Donald Trump created this massive inferno that's spreading all across the country and now wants to pretend as if he's a firefighter by putting out the damage that he has created and returning to what? A status quo when you've already increased the expensiveness of life on so many working class Americans and are forcing in real time farmers and small business owners and entrepreneurs to close their businesses. It was all a show as far as we can tell. And the only thing that will change my opinion on that is if everyday Americans start to actually see a change in their quality of life, which no one has experienced in a positive direction since the beginning of the Trump presidency. This is a president who repeatedly promised on the campaign trail that costs would go down. Costs haven't gone down. Costs continue to go up. Child care costs up. Housing costs up. Electricity bills through the roof. Grocery costs up. Price of coffee out of control. And most importantly, in this moment, healthcare premiums about to dramatically skyrocket because of the Republicans' continued refusal to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. Republican policies are doing violence to the American people. That's the message that we heard from clergy members who were here on Capitol Hill from all across the country, particularly in the Deep South, earlier today. Policy violence coming from Republicans attacking the health care and the nutritional benefits of the American people. Thanks.
I wonder if we could get your reaction to the apparent redistricting deal that was struck in Ohio. Does this help your efforts to retake the House?
I haven't had a chance to review it.
Thank you, Mr. Leader, as of today, both Delta and United Airlines have called for Congress to pass a clean CR. Is it now incumbent on Democrats to pass this CR and get these air traffic controllers paid who are experiencing delays and airport closures, and that's impacting other Americans as well?
Is it your suggestion that the partisan Republican spending bill that has now been voted down by the Senate 13 different times, that guts the health care of the American people, is a so-called clean continuing resolution?
It is already a bipartisan CR, as it has some Democrats and independent that's voting for it, and it is an extension of those Biden funding levels, and we're just seeing these impacts gather and build up.
There's been bipartisan opposition to the partisan Republican spending bill in both the House and in the Senate, and that bipartisan opposition in the Senate has continued 13 different times. Republicans hold press conferences every day, and you know what they do? They lie to the American people. These people are stone-cold extremist liars, starting from the very top. And they haven't spoken a word of truth to the American people other than what Mike Johnson admitted today, which is that they want to rip away SNAP benefits from 42 million Americans so they can pressure Democrats to continue Republican policies that would gut the health care of the American people. No thanks. We're not going to do it. And so I appreciate people from throughout corporate America urging the Congress to pass a bipartisan spending agreement. Over the last 30 days, we've said the same thing over and over and over again. We'll sit down with Republicans anytime, any place, anywhere, in order to reopen the government and act a spending agreement that actually meets the needs of the American people. That's been our criteria from the very beginning. A spending agreement that is bipartisan and that makes life better for everyday Americans in terms of their health, public safety, and their economic well-being, which means driving down the high cost of living in the United States of America, which Donald Trump and Republicans have made worse. Life is more expensive, and the overwhelming majority of everyday Americans know that the country is moving in the wrong direction. That's also why we're going to see the American people reject extremist Republicans and their policies on Election Day next Tuesday. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
First row, yeah. I'll get to you next.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. First, have you seen any data on how the suspension of food assistance programs may affect different parts of the country? And if so, is that at all affecting your decision, your political calculus here?
There is no political calculus for us. We are fighting this battle, not for partisan reasons, but because we're trying to lift up the quality of life of the American people. And the American people understand that there's a Republican health care crisis. The American people understand that Republicans have ripped away Medicaid from 14 million people. The American people understand that Republicans enacted the largest cut to nutritional assistance in American history when they cut $186 billion from their one big ugly bill. And now Republicans have the nerve to admit before the American people that ripping away SNAP benefits from 16 million children in this country and more than 1 million veterans is a pressure tactic designed to get the Congress to continue to gut the health care of the American people. It's very interesting to me that amongst the top 5 states that will suffer from the Republican decision not to spend the emergency funds that Congress already allocated, because the Trump administration has the money to ensure that not a single person in America goes hungry. Congress already allocated that money. They're making an affirmative decision to rip SNAP benefits away from the American people as a pressure tactic. That's what Mike Johnson said earlier today, and we reject that. And Republicans are hurting their own people. Louisiana is a top 5 state that will be hurt as it relates to causing people throughout this country to go hungry.
Your former colleague in the New York State's Senate, I believe, Claudia Tenney, said earlier today that the strategy that you and Senate Minority Leader Hakeem is part of an old Albany playbook or a corrupt Albany playbook. Do you just have any reaction to the claims of that strategy?
Over the last 6 to 8 weeks, the Democratic position has been the same. Cancel the cuts, lower the cost, save health care. Drive down the high cost of living, fix our broken health care system, and clean up corruption. And Republicans, they trot out a new conspiracy theorist each and every day. And now they've dusted one off from the state of New York. We haven't heard from her literally in years. And I mean, it's all falling on deaf ears because while they change their message every week, the only thing consistent is that they lie. As Democrats, we remain consistent in our policy position. Let's reopen the government. Let's enact a bipartisan spending agreement. Let's lower the high cost of living. Let's address decisively the healthcare crisis that Republicans are malignantly visiting on the American people.
Leader Hakeem yesterday indicated there's been an uptick in bipartisan rank and file negotiations for ending the shutdown. Are you getting briefed or read in on those talks? What are you hearing from your side colleagues?
It's not clear to me that John Thune is being accurate when he reports there's an uptick in bipartisan communication. What communications is he talking about? I think there's informal conversation taking place among some senators on the Republican side who apparently recognize the need to address the affordable health care crisis that Republicans, in the same way that Marjorie Taylor Greene has been very clear on the House side, that there is a health care crisis, that we need to address the affordability issue, that we should extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, and that we actually need some leadership coming from Republicans in the House who've been missing in action and on vacation for 5 consecutive weeks. They're going to get paid. Some of them have been camping and then publicly bragging about it. Others apparently have been in Russia. And yet, hardworking federal employees are being asked to work without pay, and furloughed, and don't know how they're going to put food on the table. And the best we can get from John Thune is that he believes there's been in conversations. These people have been missing in action over the last 30 days. That Republicans continue to insist that Democrats participate in their toxic effort to health care of the American people. We're not going to do it.
President Trump posted on True Social late last night that he wants to resume nuclear testing immediately. Reaction to that and what that means.
Be treaties that have been in place for decades, and it's just another Donald Trump and Republican policies going too far, being from reality. Republicans are not focused on the main thing.
All right, just listening in there, the feed going a little bit in and out for Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader, talking about this ongoing government shutdown, day number 30 of it with no real end in sight.